Today ended a week that was a dry run for John McCain and Barack Obama, a genuine crisis. The partial, so far, meltdown of the country's financial system. It threatens every American, and absent much of anything at all from George W. Bush, the nation has turned its eyes to the two men vying to head the federal government. What we got this week was a glimpse not only of policy positions, but also of leadership style, of temperament under pressure. Barack Obama went for the door marked, "I am a calm, focused unifier in the face of national peril."
We did not arrive at this crisis by some accident in history. What led us to this point was years and years of a philosophy in Washington and on Wall Street that viewed even common sense regulation and oversight as unwise and unnecessary, that shredded consumer protections and loosened the rules of the road. CEOs and executives got reckless, lobbyists got what they wanted, and politicians in both parties looked the other way until it was too late. It is now the American people who've paid the price.
Senator Obama has the political luxury of his consistent position in favor of regulating the financial markets, having clearly enunciated his current position in a major speak at NASDAQ a year ago this week, and having restated it in even more forceful terms and in more detail this past March at Cooper Union. He can afford to be steady, to stick to the plan he has already offered. John McCain, a foot soldier in the Reagan revolution of deregulation and a 26-year veteran booster of capitalism without restriction, doesn't have that same luxury. So McCain led today by blaming Barack Obama for the crisis on Wall Street.
We've heard a lot of words from Senator Obama over the course of this campaign, but maybe just this once he could spare us the lectures and admit to his own poor judgment in contributing to these problems. The crisis on Wall Street, my friends, started in the Washington culture of lobbying and influence peddling, and he was right square in the middle of it. My friends, this is the problem in Washington. People like Senator Obama have been too busy gaming the system and haven't ever done a thing to actually challenge the system.
No, really. That's your diagnosis? It's Barack Obama's fault? Perhaps not the least ridiculous possible approach to the situation, considering the gravity of this crisis and considering that, one, McCain advisor Phil Gramm wrote the laws that deregulated these markets. Two, McCain's campaign manager, Rick Davis, lobbied to help Fannie and Freddie steer clear of federal regulations. And three, one of McCain's top policy advisors, Charlie Black, was a lobbyist for Freddie Mac for 10 years, none of which was lost today on Senator McCain's rival, Barack Obama.
This is a guy who spent nearly 3 decades in Washington, and after spending the entire campaign saying I haven't been in Washington long enough, he apparently now is willing to assign me responsibility for all of Washington's failures. I think it's pretty clear that Senator McCain's a little panicked right now.
Under the panicked header, as the economy hangs in the balance, the McCain campaign appeared, at least, to produce the race card, of all things, from the bottom of the deck today. It was a television ad with sinister images of a purported connection between Senator Obama and former Fannie Mae exec Franklin Raines. The report to which the purported connection was sourced was the style section of the Washington Post. Why would McCain even bring this up? Why would he raise Obama's thin ties to Fannie and Freddie, given reports that he himself has 19 people working as either advisors or fundraisers for him who were lobbyists for Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac? Time to bring in senior editor for Newsweek magazine, Jonathan Alter. He's also an NBC News analyst. John Alter, nice to see you.
Hi, Rachel.
Is this a rogue thing? Go on the offense from the point at which you are yourself vulnerable? I mean, McCain's trying to go on the offense on longevity in Washington and ties to lobbyists.
Yeah, it's rich, so to speak, considering that his campaign manager, Rick Davis, was a lobbyist for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You know, it reminds me of what was done to McCain by George W. Bush in the South Carolina primary. After McCain won New Hampshire, suddenly Bush rechristened himself with the help of Karl Rove as, quote, a reformer with results, when that had been, you know, McCain's calling card. So you just try to steal the other guy's thunder, and you assume that the American public is stupid, which is what is the operating assumption in this case.
Well, what do you think of the last provocative, I admit provocative point that I made there? And I honestly am open-minded about this. But I want to get your opinion on this idea that this Franklin Raines ad, was put up today by the McCain campaign, not because there is a worrying tie between Obama and Frank Raines, the Fannie Mae executive, because there doesn't seem to be a tie between them, but because Raines is black, and they were bending over to make a race-tinged ad showing these two black men looking very menacing, and then showing a worried and distressed elderly white woman at the end of the ad.
Well, I would like to think that's not true, and it is a fact that Frank Raines was kind of disgraced when he left Fannie Mae. Sure. So they were trying to get to that scandal element here, and to give them the benefit of a huge doubt. All right, let's give them that. The problem is it might be part of a pattern. There was an ad last week that they did going after critics of Sarah Palin, and they used a quote from Joe Biden saying she's good looking, as if this was a horrible thing for somebody to say, but they didn't put it over Biden's picture. They put it over Barack Obama's picture, trying to play on that old Emmett Till idea, that got Emmett Till lynched in the 50s, that black men are after our white women and think they're good looking. This is one of the deepest canards in American history, and part of the stain of racism. And so, were they doing that? Maybe it was just a mistake in the editing room. The problem is Obama cannot call them on these things, because then he looks like he's just playing grievance politics, and that becomes a distraction, and we all, chew on this instead of talking about real things like the financial meltdown. But McCain had a bad week, Rachel. He was Uncle Ziggy in the Zigzag Express all over the highway there. And so, he's trying to recover now by lashing out, and I don't think it's going to work for him. His best hope is that the market goes up enough so that everybody starts talking about something else.
We had Senator Amy Klobuchar on the show earlier this week, and I said to her that the Obama campaign seems to hit its stride when the country is talking about issues, and that's why they seem to have hit their stride this week, because we're talking about the economy. But I said they also seem to wilt when McCain gets to drive the narrative, and we end up talking about lipstick and Britney Spears stuff. Klobuchar actually agreed with me on that, even the wilting part of it. If next week McCain throws up another culture, patriotism, something smokescreen, and the country isn't talking about the economy as much, are Obama and Biden then back on their heels, or do you think they're learning their lesson?
Well, we will see, and it's an extraordinarily important point for them to be able to move the conversation back to substance. Look, today was a huge day in American history. It was not just the biggest bailout in history, but basically, remember when McCain said, we're all Georgians now? We're all socialists now, Rachel. I mean, this is a form of European-style socialism. $1 trillion to back these industries, and it actually also advantages Obama in that it's very hard now for the right to say that Obama is a dangerous socialist, since their president, Hank Paulson, president of the United States, arguably, he's the one who is driving this train. They came up with a necessary but nonetheless a socialist solution to this crisis.
Jonathan Alter, NBC News analyst and Newsweek senior editor. Have a very good weekend and very trying times. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rachel.